Okay. Hey, everybody. Erik here for the live question and answer session for the Eco Landscape Mastery School. And super happy to spend the next hour with you. We're going to go over some of the aspects of Module 1 and 2 of the ELM course. We're going to answer some questions that have come up this week, take any other questions that you have, and then call it in the night. So I know folks are just getting here now, and if you could just talk in the chat there, let me know that you can see me, you can hear me, and everything is good, then we can dive into some of the content. And while we're doing that, I'm waiting for some folks to just confirm that we're all good to go. Remember that go ahead and ask your questions in the chat. I'm going to go into just a little bit of content before we get to all the questions, and then talk about some things that have come up this week, and then we'll definitely get to any questions you have. So make sure to ask those in the chat. And we also have one of our community managers, Brent, who is here with us today, and he's going to be taking notes. So he'll be capturing a lot of the conversation and the important pieces that come up, and then those will all get posted into the mastermind community, and people can add there and hopefully engage some more conversation there. So somebody, I haven't seen a chat just yet, so someone jump on in, let me know that all is good. I just want to make sure that the tech is working. Seems to be working okay on my end for now. A few other housekeeping things while we wait for folks to show up and confirm all is good. And is that, oh, there we go. I see somebody can hear and see me. That's perfect. So we had a great live session earlier this week on, what was that, Monday or Tuesday, with Javin Bernakovich. And definitely, if you didn't get a chance to check out that talk with Javin, where we talked about holistic life context, and we got a bit into how to, kind of like how to understand more of yourself and your context as you develop your business. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, then definitely go back and watch that. And here's how you're going to get there. So I'm going to show you how to get to past events. Like this event is also going to be this event's also going to be recorded and will live in the past event section of the mastermind group, and that should get you where you need to go if you want to. Oops, I shared the wrong thing. Sorry. Here, I'm trying to figure out my screen share. Give me 1 sec as I find our spot. Okay, there we are, and get us into the mastermind group here. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen here. I'm here in the mastermind group, and I just wanted to show you all, if you want to get to past events, because we'll be recording every single expert hangout, every single Q&A session. And as time goes on, we'll have quite a number of these. We have a lot of amazing experts we'll be bringing on in the next few months, and you might want to go back and find them. So what you would do is you would go into the event section, and then here you can see that here's the event we're in right now, live Q&A with Erik Olson. But if you want to check out, the past events, then you go to settings, past events, and then here's the one we did with Javin. You click that, and then you can come down here and you can click this link right here, and that will open up the recorded session with Javin from the past event. So as time goes on, we will be recording all those, and all the events are going to live there for you. So let me just come back here. Okay, here we are. So definitely, if you miss any events, go back to the mastermind community, do that. And then the other thing we're doing is that we're uploading all these into the student portal on Teachable. And so everyone will be able to access that there as well. Okay, so a few other housekeeping pieces. Those of you who don't know me, I have a little bit of a health issue, and that requires me to get up and just use the bathroom. Like, I probably won't be able to go a whole hour without doing that. So I might have to step away just for a minute, and I'll leave the screen share on a page. And don't leave if I do that. Definitely don't leave, because I want to get all your questions. But just letting you know, that helps me relax a little bit. So let's see. Anne is not seeing anything. I'm not sure what that is, Anne. Anne isn't able to see what's going on here. So maybe click in and out. Okay. I'll take this question here, Taylor. You have you want to include a staff member in the program. I would say just give him your password and username. That'll be a lot easier for us. Oh, good, Ann, you're on. Great. Yeah, just give him your password and username. If you have people on your team in your businesses that you want to be able to either come on for live sessions or come into the check out the student portal and the course, that's totally fine. We want to provide all of this for your whole team. So, just go ahead and bring your folks in. I have my whole team as well taking the course. So let's get everybody trained up and on the same page. I think that's important. Okay. So a few other just housekeeping things here. We'll be doing one of these, at least one every month, and one expert hangout every month. And the next one is in January. I think it's the 8th. I don't have that right in front of me. We can go into the Teachable site and look at the calendar. So we'll be having an expert. Hopefully, I'm shooting to get Penny Livingston Stark, who's an absolutely amazing permaculturist, ecological designer, herbalist, professional, in for the January session. So let's talk a little bit about module 1 and 2, and I'm going to pull us into the Teachable site now, and make sure that everybody is actually, navigating this okay, able to see what's going on there, because I noticed that that there's a few things that might be a little bit difficult for you to find when you're in the Teachable site. So here I am in the Teachable site, and we're looking here at module 1. And so a couple things that I really want to encourage you to do. And some of this might be stuff that you've already done, and that's totally great. If you're already have done some of the action steps here, or you already have an established business and you've already done some of the milestones and things like that, we'll definitely share that. Some folks have been sharing it in the group. I really encourage everybody to share, what your process has been, so we can have some peer-to-peer mentorship. Everybody's going to do things a little bit differently, even though we've given you a bit of a recipe here. You have to really make it your own. But one of the pieces about module 1, and for those of you who are already in permaculture, I know some of this might be a little repetitive, but one of the things that we, I've seen time and time again, teaching thousands of students from all over the world for the past 20 years, is that folks will really focus their design process, right? The application of principles of permaculture and regenerative design, we really focus it on the design of our projects, of our landscapes, our farming projects, our, whatever that is for us. But rarely are folks putting the same kind of focused energy into actually designing your business, the social systems, the communication systems, the client relationships, the overall planning and sort of successional view of your business. When you start to apply some of the principles of permaculture to that level of work, really amazing things happen. And I could tell you from experience, because I have 6 businesses right now. And all of these businesses are working like a guild, right? So I just want to encourage you to sort of expand your design frame, not just on your clients' projects, not just on the landscapes, not just in the gardens, not just in the farm, but utilize this natural systems thinking process in the actual design of your business. How do you market yourself? How do you communicate with clients? How do you manage your staff? what is your strategy for taking your business to the next level? There's some very specific business acumen stuff that we can talk about. We probably won't get to a lot of that today, but there's a lot of it in the course already. We're going to be bringing on some really savvy business people to talk about that stuff too. But then there's the more, beyond that, like business acumen stuff, there's the social and economic design of your business itself. How does your business and your services or your products, how do they solve problems in your community? And so when we talk about the context of land and people, and we had that great session with Javin earlier in the week, but Javin is really focused a lot on that holistic life design, right? Like more about the inner, more about you and how you design your life into this work, into this career, into this business, and how to make really good decisions so that you stay aligned with your context. But context goes beyond that too. And the more that you can understand the context of your community, the struggles that your community is going through, the gaps where, sometimes we'll notice a gap in, say, like a waste recycling system or an energy system in a community or a social system. You will notice gaps that nobody's really filling, or they're not filling it very well. And you can design and provide services that fill those gaps, and automatically harmonizing some of the issues and context of the community. So I don't know how many of you have been doing this, but one of the important aspects of doing that social engagement plan, about learning about your community context and then implementing solutions to solve problems in your community, one of the really important things to know is that it takes time. It's not an overnight process. You could go and volunteer for some cool organization tomorrow and build a bunch of relationships there and introduce people to who you are and your business and your talents. And that would be really great. That's like putting money in the bank. That's like a savings account. That doesn't mean that you're going to get a call next week to invite you in on a project. That what you do now might not actually yield anything for months, maybe even years. And I know it can be hard sometimes, especially when we're kind of in that desperate place in our business, to wait, when we need jobs now and we invest in our community and then we want to see some results, but sometimes it takes a while. It took me quite a few years to realize that when I go out and do community work, when I implement my social engagement plan, when I give design time away to some cool project, when I show up in the community in some way and I help solve problems in the community, it took me a while to realize that the ripple effect of those actions wasn't going to happen for a while. And so, but now 20 years of doing this, I can tell you that it is worth the investment, because over time, all that investment in the community, it catches up to you. And little by little, you get more and more opportunities catching up with you. And then at some point, if you're not there already and you're like me and you have way too much, and now I have to like cut it off, there's just way too much opportunity. You can't do it all. I actually want to have a life with my family. So there can be problems with being too successful as well, because if you stretch too far away from your context, your holistic context, your life context into that, then life can get pretty miserable, even though you're doing really cool stuff. So kind of what I'm talking about here is really learning about your community, looking for the problems that are there, solving them for your community, building those relationships, and then not expecting immediate results and taking time there. So let me just get back to the chat here and see okay, so Anne's asking a question about, any types of community groups to reach out to. And that's a great question. There's a lot of different circles that one could reach out to. I work a lot with schools, so that's one community I work a lot with. And the cool thing about schools is that they do require a lot of ahead of time investment of volunteer time, showing up to meetings, building relationships with administrators and teachers and such. But schools also tend to have money come through, often earmarked for different projects. I mean, depending on the kind of school, whether it's just a straight public school or it's a charter school, it's a private school, there's all different pathways to do that. And every one of those, whether it's a public or a public charter, which public charters generally have community money that comes in on top of their charter money or private school. I've worked in within all those different kinds of schools, high schools, kindergartens, middle school, all levels of school and college. And those, again, are relationships that tend to take time to build, but often money does end up coming through, especially if a school has reached out for a project. They'll even sometimes put it out to the community. Hey, we're looking for volunteers to help us design such and such. And inevitably, as all projects go, the schools realize that, yeah, you have to actually pay money to do that. And they often end up hiring folks. And I've been hired for design for school projects, installation, consultation, all of it. So schools are one. Other businesses are another as well, especially businesses that have real estate, businesses that are like landed in place in your community that want to put a green image forward, that want to be the ecological or green kind of business in the community. Sometimes those can be good communities to work with. And then, any kind of nonprofit, like a lot of our communities have different nonprofits doing cool things, whether they're feeding the homeless or they're taking care of teens or they're beautifying landscapes or they're doing, other kinds of community service work. And so community service projects, either run through schools or through nonprofit organizations, can be really amazing places to build a lot of network, a lot of connection, and really get in on some high level projects that have a lot of people looking at them. Like sometimes you can get newspaper press, you can get the project can get talked about in bigger community circles. And all of that stuff, all of it, whether it's direct or indirect, can lead you to more clients and can sort of connect your name to those projects and that kind of work. And it just takes a little bit of time. So when we're talking about context of land and people, and we really start to understand our community, then that kind of leads us into this social engagement plan, into creating that social engagement plan. And so, let's just talk about social engagement plan for a sec. So the first thing you want to do, so check out the action steps here. I don't know if you all are really following the action steps just yet, but I can't encourage you enough to actually follow each action step here in the Teachable site, because this is a recipe that I've used for decades for really good success, not just in my community, but in my work globally. So the first thing is identify those different circles in your community. And I talk a lot about that in this session. Start to plan out your social engagement plan. So pick a few projects that you are going to make your campaign, that you are going to make your baby, that you're going to follow through on and step up and do that. And then this is all, part of the action step of the social engagement plan, but this action step could be in even one of the other modules. But what you're going to want to do is, as you start to figure out what your business is, what services are you providing, what kinds of problems are you solving in your community, what's your social engagement plan, how are you engaging with the community, through that exploration and the exploration of your own holistic life context, you should be able to write a statement of purpose for your business, which is a 1 to 2 paragraph statement about your business and what you value. And that statement of purpose is a leading tool that when people go to your website or they want to learn about you, you want to give them information about who you are, or even if you write, make flyers, or you put ads in newspapers, or, any kind of marketing that you do, you are going to use this statement of purpose over and over and over again, different versions of it, to identify who you are in the community. And it's not just, we're an ecological landscape design firm that builds landscapes. That's a given. That's not it. It's more about who you serve, more about your vision for your business, your vision for the world. Being able to weave in a little depth into your statement of purpose will draw in the kind of people that you want to work with. So I really want to encourage folks as you go in through the program to follow these different action steps. We'll do another session like this where we talk just about the certificate track, because I know some folks want to go for the certificate track, and I'm just going to introduce that real quick here. That we do have a certificate track to become a certified ecological landscaping professional. And we haven't created this certificate track to be easy. That's on purpose, because in order for me to feel like I can actually give you a certificate, I actually want you to have a functioning business and to have experience. So I really encourage you to take the certificate track. It's totally optional. There's no have to here. But if you follow the process, which there's over 20 different milestones outlined in the certificate track, if you follow the process and complete each one of these milestones, and we give you a certificate, we're not just going to give you a certificate, we're also going to promote you throughout all of our networks as a professional ecological landscaper certified out of this program. And we're going to put a big spotlight on you and your achievements and the work you're doing, and try to get as much support to what you're doing as possible. So the way to find out more about the certificate track is to, you come into the Teachable site, and it's really this first one, general information certification. You go here, Eco Landscape Certificate Track. And then when you look here at this, this is a preview of what is in the certificate track. My suggestion is don't just read it there. Click the download button down here, and download that. And it'll take you to a page like this. And then if you want to download it to your computer, then you come here, you click the download button, and now you will have this PDF that you can check out anytime you want, and then take the time to really read through and understand what it means to become certified. And here's a step-by-step process for actually how to fill out the application, how to get your certificate. And what we want you to do is set up a Dropbox account and start putting in your completed action steps, your completed milestones in that Dropbox account, so that myself and the team can review, ask you questions, and get you your certificate once you've accomplished everything. So I'm not going to go through it all right now, but the process is there. You can download it, then you should be able to get the download, and here's the PDF right here. So for you to go ahead and work through those different milestones. Now, I wanted to talk about the first milestone for a second. This one, Module 1, action step milestone, and that is create a name and a logo, file a fictitious business name statement, and open a bank account. Now, I know a lot of folks here have already done this. A lot of you already have businesses, but not everybody has done that. And there's nothing more empowering and also slightly terrifying if you haven't started your business yet, like officially started a business. Choosing a name, coming up with a logo, and then opening a bank account. Those are they're very easy steps that are actually quite fun because they're very creative to get that bank account open. If you don't have a business bank account right now for your business, I would highly encourage you to make that your number one priority. What is today's Friday? A lot of banks are closed on the weekend. On Monday, if you haven't done this yet, go and get a bank account for your business. And the reason, even if you don't have clients yet, even if your business isn't booming and you don't have a lot of projects, go get a bank account open right away. And the reason why is because as soon as you open a bank account, you can start spending money through that account. If you need to buy a tool, you buy a tool with your business account. If you are bringing a colleague out to lunch to have a meeting, you pay for your lunch on that business account. If you need to get some new work clothes, you buy those out of your business account. If you're driving to a project, the money you spend on gas to get to that project, that is run through your bank account. Every single thing that you do for your business, make sure you run it through your bank account. And it's okay if in the end of the year, your business hasn't made any money because you spent more money because you're investing in this new project, this new company. That's okay. That's going to be good for your taxes, actually. But you want to run everything through your bank account so that you can avoid, having to pay taxes that you shouldn't have to pay, and ensure that these are all business expenses. And here in the States, one of the first things you have to do, at least to open a sole proprietorship, you don't necessarily need to go and talk to lawyers and all of that. If you want to just get started right away, you can file a fictitious business name statement. It costs, here in California, it costs $40. I go down to the administration building. I fill out a form with the name of my business. I pay them $40. They give me an official form I can take to the bank and open that bank account. And boom, I get a check, I get a card. Now I have my business bank account. So I just want to make sure that everybody here is on the same page, at least here, that everyone has a business account open so you can at least start tracking expenses through that and start getting those write-offs for your business. Let's see, I'm reading your question here, Anne. I went through the process of opening business account, but only big banks have them. I prefer to use credit unions and they don't do business accounts. Any suggestions? So that's a great question. And I actually don't run my business through, I don't run my any of my stuff through a big bank either here. And I'll actually come back to you all for a sec. So, Anne, that's a great question to try to avoid working with the big banks. My suggestion would be look for a local bank. It doesn't have to be a credit union. Credit unions will, depending on the credit union, some of them will open business accounts. But what I use, I do have some accounts with the credit union, but I use a local bank, which here where I live is a really cool bank, Exchange Bank. They can't be bought or sold. They keep most of their money local. So just search out what kind of local banks might be in the area that maybe aren't credit unions and see if you can get business accounts there, or talk more with your credit unions to see if you're missing something and if they will open an account for you, because it should be pretty easy. They don't put a lot of roadblocks into that. And then let us know how that goes. I'd be curious to hear if you find a solution for that and can make sure to keep your money local, and which I think is highly valuable. Keep your money local, keep it in the local bank or credit union if you can. With my local bank, I've got like 10 different accounts. All my businesses run through there. And they take good care of me. They're in my community. I mean, I'll run into the president of the bank, in town. And that's a really cool feeling, to feel like you have that kind of relationship with the people who are caring for your money. So, okay. So I wanted to definitely make sure everybody was on that with getting a bank account open. And I want to celebrate with you too. So if you guys don't have a bank account open yet, and then you open an account, like post it in the community, let us know, like, you got your bank account open. That is totally awesome. For the folks who haven't had a chance to do that yet, that'll be inspiration for them to jump in and get their bank accounts open. And I tell you, you don't want to wait for this at all. Like this is step one. Get that bank account so that you can start doing any business expenses. Everything runs through that bank account. Okay. And then I'm still here in the certificate, track. I'm still looking at the certificate track, but what so I'm trying to find my page here. Sorry. I got too many windows open. And where did I go? So we're still here looking at the certificate track. And I'm going to point out milestone number 2, because I know this is another really important one at the beginning of your business, which is to get your portfolio going. And again, these are action steps to get your certificate, but you do there's more than these action steps. You just want to do these whether you're going for the certificate or not. And so that is starting to document your projects and starting your portfolio. Some of you all have shared your really awesome portfolios in the group already. And I mean, I'm totally amazed by what some of you folks are doing already. But for those of you who haven't worked on a lot of projects or don't have a big portfolio to share already, don't be discouraged. We all have to start somewhere. I think that whatever project it is, even if you're working on a landscape at your house, even if you don't have a project or a client right now, but you're working on a project at your house, that's totally fine. Document that, take some before pictures. If you're digging a trench and you're running a rainwater pipe from your house to a tank, document that. Take pictures before, take progress pictures, take final pictures, and then hopefully, if you're staying in that place for a while, take pictures the next year and keep tracking everything. This was a huge mistake that I made earlier on in my business, was that I did not take enough pictures. I didn't document enough because I was so focused on the work that I was doing. I would forget, oh gosh, I should have taken a picture, yesterday, and we already got through this whole big part of the project. Would have been great to document that, great to show clients this, but I missed the chance on that. So make sure you have a camera with you. A good camera on a phone is fine. You could get more fancy. You can set up time lapse, like on GoPros. On a tripod, you can set up some kind of time lapse thing. If you think you have a project that you're going to get done within a few days and you want to be able to document that, all of that kind of footage, all of it is huge, will provide huge benefits to you when you share that with your clients, and it'll really get them excited. If you can do little short videos even, and I know, not everybody feels like they can speak on video, and it takes practice. I do it all the time. Every week I'm talking on video, but I'm always nervous when I do it. Usually I'm doing multiple takes at first. And so it takes time. So even if you're like, I'm not really a video person, just try it out. Talk about something that's exciting to you. I wouldn't suggest scripting too much. You could do like a little bit of scripting, but share your passion of a project. Even if it's just planting a really cool fruit tree, it doesn't have to be a big fancy project. It could even just be, oh, today it was really exciting. I planted a Gravenstein apple, a really cool heirloom apple tree. Here's the tree. Here's how I dug the hole and prepped it. Here at Sunshine Landscapes, we want to support you in growing your own food. We design and install edible food forest gardens. Give us a call. Boom, there's your whole video right there, 45 seconds. And it's something you're passionate about, a little thing that you just did. Get that on your website. Share that with your clients. Get a following in your community. People are going to start seeing you as an expert and seeing and feeling your passion, and they're going to want to show up. They're going to want to hire you. They're going to want to invite you to their projects and such. So don't be afraid to, do little videos. Don't be afraid to take pictures all the way through the process of a project. Capture as much of that footage as possible so you can build your portfolio and share as much of that with your community. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're kind of past the days where videos have to be some kind of absolute perfect thing that has like titles and all this kind of stuff. I mean, everybody's just doing live things all the time now. So you can do a really easy video. The most important thing for video is that it has good sound. So, so if it's a windy day or something, keep that in mind. But as much of that footage that you can get as possible is gonna really get the community to know you and want to work with you, and they feel your passion. Ron, you made it. Awesome. So good to have you here. So good to have everybody here. Let's see. Hatchet and Seed says, we plan on investing in signage next year and have some ideas, but would take tips. Yeah, great. And one of our major weak links is signage. We have several excellent public projects. We still haven't put up any signage. Great question. Yeah, totally. I mean, signage is great. And I've done all kinds of different signage. We've gone through all sorts of different signage. We had these really cool metal signs at one point, and then we were doing these wood signs on like big posts. And now, more recently, because we just have so many projects, we just had signs made, like the political signs when people are running for office. They get these little really lightweight signs with just little metal stakes. You just stick them in the ground. They're really easy to put in and pull out. Those actually tend to blow over less in the wind. They look really good. They're really cheap, and they're really light, easy to install. So, do whatever kind of signage you want. Like I said, at first, I did these really custom looking signs that, each sign cost me like $75 or more to look really nice. But what happens often is after a while, clients, they don't really want the sign anymore. I mean, I've had clients after, 3 or 4 years where we just like left this really nice sign in their in their landscape, like actually, dig it up and bring it over to the office. It's like, hey, we don't want the sign there anymore. So the thing about signage, it's kind of like getting in the newspaper as well, and kind of like these little videos. Think about all of that stuff. Is no one thing is necessarily gonna directly get you another project. And that's not to say that we shouldn't do this, like signage and getting in the newspaper and doing ads. Like, I suggest doing all of it, whatever you have, budget and time for. Don't do it all at once if you don't have the budget for it, because that stuff can get pretty expensive, especially doing ads in the paper. But every little bit counts. For the most part, clients are going to come to you when they've heard your name or seen something about you in multiple different places. So they saw one of your signs, they talked to a friend who got a project done from you, and they saw you speak on some panel about permaculture or whatever. So 3 different ways that they made contact with you, or that they saw you, or you inspired them in some way. Then they make the call. Like, that's the normal process. It takes a lot of different variety of advertisement in the community to get people to actually want to make the commitment and think, oh, these are the people, I should call them and hire them. So signage is great, but just don't spend too much on it. And especially, like, I won't put a sign in front of every project. I mean, sometimes it's like at the end of the road, nobody's there. The client's kind of like, I don't know if I want the sign. But if you have projects that are on busy roads, or they're businesses or farms, or a lot of people are going to come through, then strategic signage is super key. So I think that's a great idea that you guys are doing that. And as many different ways that you can get get some publicity as possible, the better. We just had an article come out in our local paper. We had these really big fires happen, just a little about 2 months ago. The big fires happened here in Northern California. The ones in Southern California are still happening right now. And that was an opportunity. It was I was quoted calling it a tragic opportunity, but here is this huge problem in the community. And if you want to really involve yourself in the community issues and build relationship, like, I just jumped in, started organizing. We started organizing bioremediation systems, for toxic fire runoff, started working in the community, giving my time away, hooking people up, just doing my, my civil service in the community, like so many of us have been doing around here since the fires. And not really necessarily trying to like grow my business out of doing it, just because it's a disaster. This is what we do in disaster. But out of all of that, we've had articles in the paper written about our efforts. We've had tens of thousands of people watch our videos. I've spoken to hundreds of people during panels and workshops and all this kind of stuff. And so we've had this amazing exposure by just showing up, identifying a problem in the community, showing up to be of service. And now the publicity has grown from there. And a lot more folks know about the work that we do, and people are hiring us to help them with their fire recovery, which we're giving a lot of our services away to do that, but we're also have to charge for some of that. But so anytime something is happening in the community and you feel like you have the time and energy to step in, you'll add to the kind of spotlight that you put on your services, like a sign would, or an ad in the newspaper would, or getting out in some community project would. It's just as many different ways as you possibly can get the word out. As many ways you can engage, you'll get, people are going to hear about you. And almost every client that calls us now is like, oh, I've heard about you guys, like from all over, 10 different places I've heard about you. Everyone's talking about you, because we've created that buzz. But the reason why we have so much buzz now is because I was doing that investment in the community, getting the word out over the years and getting really cool projects under us and everything over the years. And so that stuff's starting to catch up to us. So don't wait to start doing that work out there. Okay, so we've been talking about a little bit about in module 1 and 2, talking about applying the principles of permaculture to your design of your business. We've talked about a little bit about the certificate track, and those of you that want to get that certificate, start getting those milestones done, and let us know in the Facebook mastermind group when you accomplish a milestone, or if you're struggling with a milestone, let us know what you're struggling with, and we can all show up and support you that way. And then we've talked a little bit about the social engagement plan, identifying problems in your community, and then providing solutions, and then getting as many different eyes on you as possible. So now I want to, we have about 15 or 20 minutes left. And what I would like you to do, I have one more piece that I want to share with you around, somebody had asked about, wanted a little bit more example of a back of the envelope proposal. So I want to show you guys a little bit about what I mean by that and talk about that for a minute. And I want you to please share your questions, other questions you have. Let's get those questions in here because we're starting to run out of time a little bit. Get your questions in here. And what I need to do, those of you who just showed up, I let everybody know that I have a little bit of a health issue. I have to step away every now and then just to use the bathroom. And I'm going to do that here in just one sec. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to get a design contract up for you to look at while I do that. And I'll be right back. And then just please leave any questions you have so that we can, so I can get to those. And let me just get this design plan here. Okay, so I want you to just take a look at this. I'll be right back here in 1 minute. I want you to just take a look at this design proposal, because I want to talk a little bit about this. This is not a back of the envelope proposal. This is a final contract that we've given a client, but this project started with a back of the envelope proposal, and I'm going to share that with you here in just 1 sec. I'll be right back. Okay, thanks everybody. So let's see. Looks like no new questions. So that's fine. So we'll just jump into this here. So first thing is that we're looking at this proposal, and this is a design contract. I'm purposely not showing you the top of this because I don't want to share my client's personal information. So there's at the top of this page here, there's the letterhead for our company, and it has the client's information. So you can see that for this design project, we've broken the estimate out into these different line items. We've got mapping and site analysis, which even calls out some of the deliverables here. We have assessment, and we have regenerative planning and design, and then we have the oyster mushroom inoculation. And in this instance, I have solid numbers here: 3,500 for mapping and site analysis, 1,000 for assessment, 1,500 for regenerative planning, 1,000 for mushroom inoculation. So the total 7,000. So Sometimes when we're doing a design, we may even have a range here. So this might be 3,500 to 4,000. This might be 1,000 to 1,500. This might be 1,500 to 2,000. This might be 1,000 to 1,500. And it's all really going to depend on the project and the situation. And the reason why we sometimes do a sliding scale is because it's can be a little difficult to understand a client's needs right off the bat. And we're also potentially working with some pretty complex systems. And especially when it comes to design and assessment, you're not always going to be able to know exactly how long it's going to take. Now, a way to just totally get around all of that is to just do this whole thing in time and materials. So that means that these numbers aren't even here. This would just say T&M or cost to be determined. And at that point, you're just saying, well, you come down to your rates and you say, my rates are, let's see, where are the rates here? Here, this is, I'm giving a deal to this client at $60 per hour. Usually we charge 100 or more per hour, but I'm giving 60 an hour for this project because it's a burn project. And I'm committed to working with clients who have burned properties and because we're doing our kind of remediation stuff. So I agreed to do almost half of my normal cost for this particular client. But if you did a T&M, you would just be saying, all right, at $60 per hour, I'm going to be working and charging you as we go, and you will pay me as we go, at 16 hour time and materials. And often you have a not to exceed, and another one of these sessions, we can go into a whole time and materials contract and show you what that looks like and how you set that up. Generally, you would have a not to exceed. So I might have in mapping and site analysis, I might say, oh, it's a T&M not to exceed $3,500 for this line item. And essentially what that means is that we're going to just charge the client for whatever time we spend at whatever rate that we've agreed to. And if we get up to 3,500, we're going to stop. We're not going to work past that number. And then we'll renegotiate with the client. If there's more work, say, oh, hey, actually we need another 10 hours to finish it off or whatnot, and have that sort of change order conversation. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And in this particular one, I have solid numbers here. I decided not to give a sliding scale or do T&M, mainly because this is one of those burn projects. So I've created kind of a special situation. But the thing is that this project was already approved before I ever got to the official contract, right? Because here in this official contract, there's a description of services and general notes. We talk about what billable design hours are. So check this out. Please have this in at least some version of this in any contract. I'm just going to read this line right here. Design hours include client meetings, site visits, measuring and determining property dimensions, drafting, design time, email, and telephone correspondence with clients, consultants, or other professionals related to the project. So those are all billable time right there. If you don't call out and explain to your client exactly what the billable time is, then you might end up, spending hours in phone calls or in email communication, and the client could balk at you for charging them for that time. So this is a more official project. We've got terms of payment. We've got stuff about additional services. We have a termination of the project line here. We've got official, we're signing it and all of that. So that's an official contract. Well, the thing is when you start out with a project, depending on the client and depending on the project, this could be intimidating for somebody. They're going to sign a contract saying they can pay these things. And if you lead with this, you lead with a first relationship, first project with this right here, you might turn the client off if you haven't done enough of the ahead of time relationship building and communication required to really warm that client up to you and up to the project. So instead of jumping into doing a contract right away, this is where I was suggesting that you can do a back of the envelope proposal. And I'll show you how easy that is. That's the easiest thing. So I'm going to switch to a different page here. Bear with me. We're going to go over to this one. And let me find that. Okay, so now here I have my letterhead. This is another thing, another action step that if you haven't done this already, I would highly suggest that you set up a letterhead document like this, where that you just can use for any sort of correspondence with a client or a partner or anything. You can see we've got our logo up here. We have our contractor's license there. You don't need to be a licensed contractor if you're doing design, so don't worry about that. And then we've got, our information here at the bottom: address, phone number, all that kind of stuff, website. So really simple. If you wanted to do a back of the envelope proposal for somebody, you might just say preliminary. Bear with me here. Preliminary estimate. You might call it a preliminary estimate, or you might call it a draft estimate. And then you might write a nice little note to your client. You might just say, "Great to meet you and see your project. I'm excited to work with you." Here is a draft budget for the project. And then you just do it real easy. Mapping, 3,500 to 4,500. Concept planning, 2,000 to 2,500. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just providing some numbers, just a few numbers here to get the client. So then I can have, I can have down here 3, water harvest plan. And these numbers are totally arbitrary, what I'm choosing right here, because I'm just kind of making them up as we go. So you can see that there's nothing contractual here. This is super simple. Like literally, it could take me just a few minutes to bust this out. And a nice little note, I would probably add a little bit more in here, like, about the project or whatever, something you noticed or something, something in this intro paragraph that just is a relationship builder for the client. And then you just say, here's a draft budget for the project. And, it's really important to say that, this is a draft and I'm looking forward to discussing this with you. Okay. So you really want to make sure they know that this isn't this isn't a final estimate. This is just saying, this is back of the envelope. This is just saying. So here's what I think it might cost to do your project. And this is I'm talking about design here. Okay. And it's mapping, concept planning, water harvest plan. Here's what I think your project might cost. Let's talk about it. That's all it is. There's no commitment. Nobody signed a contract. You're not saying it's absolutely going to be this or that. You're providing a conversation piece, which allows you to talk about budget. Sometimes you'll ask a client what their budget is right off the bat, and they're not going to tell you. Or sometimes they'll tell you, but they're not actually telling you the truth. So you have to watch when a client tells you what their budget is right off the bat, because it just may not be true. But once you actually get into a conversation about what's realistic around costs, then once you've had that conversation, you actually know what the client wants to do and a little bit more about what their budget is, then you can go back to the contract we were looking at before and create something more official with terms of service and contractual agreement and all those things. So you're not intimidating them off the bat with the contract. You just have a conversation opener here that gets you into the conversation. Now, how did I come up with these numbers? Well, I have to know a bit about what I'm doing. And that's why I'm using design as a example here rather than an install, because it's a lot harder to have a overnight estimation for install. It's a lot easier to do it for design. And so I need to have enough, you need to have enough information about the project to know that you're definitely going to be able to do the mapping for 4,500, but you probably could do it for 3,500. You'll definitely get the concept planning for 2,500, but maybe it'll be less, right? You'll definitely be able to do the water harvest plan for 2,000, but maybe less. So this bigger number here, the on the sliding scale, the 4,500, 2,500, 2,000, that's the cushion. That has all the cushion in it. And that's where I know that I'm going to be able to meet, with the information I have and the knowledge I have about what I can do, I know I'll be able to meet this expectation of this bigger number, but I'll make the effort to go for the smaller number. And this can be a really nice thing for clients. Now, there's some conversations in the mastermind group and some folks shared about having basic unit prices for stuff. And if you were to do a preliminary draft estimate for an installation project, that is where you are going to want to have some kind of unit cost. Although every project is site specific and materials, you can't always get the same materials all the time. Costs fluctuate due to, the global economy. So even your unit pricing, like let's say you said, 100, let's say you had a unit price of, I'm just totally making this up, $100 per linear foot of water harvesting swale. All right. Let's say that was a unit price that more or less the projects that you've done, you've been able to track that. It's about $100 per linear foot to build a water harvesting swale. That would include the labor, any equipment, hand grading, demolition if there needed to be that, or whatever. That would include, kind of everything. But so if you had that and then you were able to go onto a consultation and say, oh, look, I've got, 1,000 feet of water harvesting swale required on this project for whatever reason, then you could be able to come up pretty quickly with a unit price for what that would cost. And you could do the same kind of preliminary draft estimate for an install project. And you could say, you can have on there water harvest system equals 10,000 to 15,000. Now my numbers are going to get bigger since I'm in on install, and I'm going to actually make sure that my sliding scale is bigger as well, because once I actually measure out the project and once I actually get into the specifics of the project, I say my unit price is $100 per linear foot of water harvesting swale. Well, what if that soil is hard pan clay, versus some sort of sandy loam? Or what if I have to remove a concrete pad first? Or what if I have to size that swale larger than my average size because of the volume of water coming in off of some roof of some barn or something? There's a lot of site specific details that you're not going to be able to get in your unit price stuff. So I want to just say that unit pricing, being able to have square foot, linear foot, baseline pricing is really great in a lot of different ways, but it's not always going to be accurate if you're truly taking the time to assess a site and understand all the nuances of a situation and then design and build to the context of that site. These unit prices are going to not always be like that, but they can help you in this back of the envelope draft kind of proposal where you can come up with some generic numbers. Again, if I'm giving this to a client where I say water harvest system, 10,000 to 15,000, I need to know that 15,000 number, that I for sure am going to be able to do it with that. So I can do this because I have a lot of experience, decades of building these projects, and I kind of can essentially get a sense of what something will cost pretty quickly. But if you don't have a lot of experience, then you want to measure this stuff out. You want to buy yourself the time to do a really good design, to be on the site and to measure out things so that you have a realistic idea of what the materials and labor is going to be. Okay. I'm going to move on from this. We're at 7 o'clock now, but I'm definitely willing to take a few questions and go a little farther. Come back to you. Okay. So I hope all that stuff was useful. Do we have any other questions right now about anything we've talked about? or anything that's come up for you. Uh, if you don't have anything now, that's totally fine. Definitely jump into the mastermind community and share, ask those questions there as they come up, and then we'll be able to get to that. While I'm waiting to see if anyone has any more questions, there was another question in the group this week about sourcing plants. Mateo, I don't know if you're watching right now or if you're going to watch the replay of this, but I saw a question in there about sourcing plants, that you've come up with a plant list of plants you want, that you're, suggesting to your client, but you can't source those plants locally. And that is definitely an issue that that can come up a lot. So here's my answer to you. There's a few different ways to go about that. I mean, first off, you can get plants shipped. There's a lot of nurseries that will ship plants to you from all over the world. I don't know exactly where you are. I think maybe you're in Canada or the States. There's a lot of nurseries that will ship to you. And if you're really looking for rare plants, often in our permy landscapes, our ecological landscapes are looking for, rare edibles and medicinals and useful plants, and we can't always find them at our local nurseries. So we'll actually mail order them. And there's some really great nurseries for folks who are on the west coast of California, and the west coast of the United States and Canada. There's some great nurseries in Oregon and Washington and California that will ship, all kinds of amazing plants to you, edibles and medicinals and rare plants and nitrogen fixing plants. A lot of great, useful ecological plants can get shipped to you. So that's one thing. The second one is to look for some contract growers in your area. And so these are nurseries that will grow out specific things if you ask them to. So we have one here. If I wanted to do a big bunchgrass prairie restoration, I wanted to plant some sort of alternative to a lawn with native bunchgrass, I could go to these folks and say, hey, I need 5,000 fescue plants. And they'll grow them out. It might take a few months, and then I can buy them from there. I can buy it from them. There's a lot of contract growers out there who will do that for you if they know that you, if you tell them that they have a guaranteed sale, essentially. Like, here's what I need. You tell them ahead of time. They grow it. You buy it from them. That's a really great way. And then the other one is to grow some of that on your own as well. We're going to start a little nursery over at the Permaculture Skills Center. We have a greenhouse there, and periodically we'll do that. Really easy things. You can easily propagate lavender, easily propagate geraniums, easily propagate fig trees. These things, we don't really need to be buying them ever because they're so easy to propagate. I can just literally propagate them out in my backyard and then sell them to a client. So there might be stuff you can do that way as well. There's things that you might be able to plant by seed too. So sometimes just broadcast seeding at the right time of year with specific kinds of plants that you're looking for can get them to germinate and start growing on a project. And then obviously making requests of the nurseries that are there. So there's 4 different ways that I would encourage you to try to source your plants when you're looking for specific things. So it looks like maybe a couple more questions here. How do you know when a new direction of your business should be a new business or just go under the umbrella of the initial business? Okay, that's a great question. So that's when you really want to get clear on a couple things. All right, first off, the business that you would use as an umbrella, is that a business that you see yourself being part of for the long term? Are you going to be there for a decade, 2 decades? The reason why I ask that, because sometimes we're starting businesses that actually our successional plan is to sell them, is to make a worker owner out of it, or to sell the company, or to work our way out. So part of how I would answer that would be having a little bit bigger of a view of where you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, to know, do you want to put this company under that company? I had a similar question when I started the Permaculture Skills Center, because I had permaculture artisans, an established company, and I could do education out of that. But I decided to create a whole new business entity for Permaculture Skill Center, because my goal with Permaculture Artisans is to actually sell the company to my workers and get myself out of that company and focus more on the Permaculture Skill Center. So it was beneficial to have those separate so that I could do that. Another reason why it might be beneficial to have them separate is if you're starting a new project, you could, often a new company is going to run at a loss at the beginning, that you're not necessarily going to make money because you'll be putting more money into it than you're making from it. And it can be beneficial to have that as a separate entity, because when it comes to tax time, having one business that's running at a loss and another one that's running at a profit really helps you with your tax liability. So that's really saved me, having a business that's running at a loss. Not that we want our business to run at losses for that long, but usually in the first couple of years, that's what happens as you grow your business. So there's a bit of a tax aspect to this that can be beneficial to have separate entities. And then you also want to think about another thing to think about is the staffing and the culture of the company. So is the new company something that seamlessly fits into the business culture of the umbrella company, that the way you do business, the way you organize things, the way things are managed, the communication style, that it all fits? Because sometimes we start a business and it requires a totally different business culture than our other businesses, and you don't actually want to mesh those. So those are a few questions that I would ask. I mean, some of it is logistical around money and tax liability and that kind of thing, and some of it is more cultural around the business culture piece. I tend to start new entities because rather than adding more various projects under my other businesses, because that in my mind actually breeds more resiliency too. If you look at it from a legal point of view, and I'm not a lawyer, but if you look at it from a legal point of view, let's say something happened with your umbrella company that, God forbid, something goes wrong in one of your big projects, and someone who's operating a bulldozer, knocks a foundation of a house or something, and there's some big liability situation there. Well, if you have all your businesses under that one umbrella, all your endeavors under that one umbrella, then they're all at risk for any kind of legal thing that might happen to you because of some issue that happened with one business. If you have those separate and you're able to truly keep them separate, you're able to keep that veil totally clear, like have a LLC, and there's a lot that goes into that. We're definitely going to have a business lawyer, landscape contract lawyer, on the Elm School, where we'll talk all about landscape contract law and business law and all of that, and get clearer on this. But if you have your business is a totally separate entity, and the way you've used money, you spend money out of different accounts and things, and you keep that veil really clear, then if you get litigated on one of your companies, the other one can be safe. So depending on what that structure that you chose is and how you operate that. So I would say in general, the longer term vision, the longer term resiliency is to separate out businesses into their own systems. But I also see that, there's something tantalizing about just adding new diverse projects under your initial umbrella, because you already have the infrastructure and the momentum, and you already have a name for yourself there. But 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, you may actually see that it might have been more beneficial to separate them out. So, it really just depends, I guess, on what that service is. Okay. Ron, no problem. Definitely ask questions in the group. We'll have another one of these next month. So if we don't get to it here, if we don't get to your questions now, we'll get to them later. Okay. Well, we're a little over time here, 7:15. I hope you all have a great rest of your December, a great rest of your new year. And oh, it looks like we got one more question. All right, one more question's jumping in here. Whole system designs. We need some guidance on if business gets too much interest when small, how to tell interested folks how long to wait versus trying to keep them interested. We went from 2 to 6 people this year. Well, first off, Johnny and Derek, congratulations on your business success and your growth. That is totally incredible. It's such a pleasure to watch your evolution over the years of your business. For all the rest of you here, Whole Systems Design, Johnny and Derek, they started just like all of us, from nothing, starting business from scratch, and they've grown to a really amazing ecological landscape design install company in Sacramento, California, or Davis, California. And so I get what you mean about employees. So here's what I would say. I would say that if you start getting more clients than you can handle, that's a good problem to have, certainly. And, number one, first thing is that you choose the clients that you're going to have the best relationship. Don't choose the projects only by scale. So don't put all your energy only into the projects that seem like they're bigger because you see the potential for your business growth. And so I'm going to go for the big project. If the client who is the big project is really hard to work with, and it's really stressful for you to work with that client, and you have other clients who are maybe a little smaller, but they're a lot easier to work with, I would always put my attention on the smaller clients who are easier to work with and try to struggle through a big project that I'm going to be miserable. Only would I do this if I'm in your situation where there's enough work that you can pick and choose which ones to do. Now, the whole thing about telling clients that they have to wait, could be a tricky thing for sure. We tell clients now for every design project that it will be 6 to 8 weeks before they'll see a deliverable. Now, that's quite a long time for somebody who wants a project done right away. That doesn't mean that it's always going to take 6 or 8 weeks, because we're going to read the context of our clients. We're going to read them, the urgency of the project. And if it's a kind of thing where somebody needs a quick turnaround and we think we can pull it off, then boom, we'll pull it off. We'll do it faster. We'll give them the express version. But we always have that 6 to 8 week line item in our contract just to back us up, just in case. And so sometimes what will happen is you'll get clients that they're in no rush. They know it's a big project. They're fine if it takes a couple months. There's no rush at all. Take the time you need. And so those are great clients to get, because you could take your time with them. And while you have those projects on the back burner, you can take other projects that require a quicker turnaround, the people who are more urgent. So you can kind of stack your design projects in such a way by urgency, the client's urgency and priority. And that's a way to sort of create like a critical path in terms of getting projects done, from going from one to another, keeping your clients happy and getting them deliverables in a timely way. Now, my caution to you is, if you're putting a really cool client who's totally not in a rush into that longer term period, say, well, we'll give you a deliverable in 8 months. I mean, excuse me, not 8 months. Don't do that. 8 weeks. Don't just forget about them. Give them something, like they can be that project that fills in the gaps between your shorter term projects. Oh, we have an extra day or two here between these urgent projects. Let's work on that one that, we have to give the deliverable in a month and a half. Let's work on that one. Well, try to get some rough draft deliverables to those clients before the 6 or 8 week mark. Just something to them, something in draft form, so that they feel fed, like they've got something. Doesn't have to be final though. Give them little tidbits so that they know that you're taking care of them. And then definitely make sure that your short cycle urgent projects are getting done in the time frame that you say. So that's one thing. Ultimately, in the end, if you get really busy because you have a lot of clients, then clients they will be willing to wait for you. They'll be willing to wait for you, especially if you keep them excited with other content. If you're showing the little videos of the cool project you just completed last week, or whatever, if you keep feeding them stuff that keeps them excited, little touch-ins. Don't go weeks without communicating with a contracted client. Even if you're not going to give them a deliverable for 2 months, contact them every couple weeks at a minimum, just to let them know how the project's going, give them a check-in so that they know that you haven't forgot about them. So that's one way you can stagger and stack your projects, depending on who your clients are. And in the end, prioritize the projects that you'll be able to sleep at night, that you're not going to be too overly stressed out for. And yeah, use that as a decision-making tool as part of your holistic life context and your business context. Let's see. How many design projects do you do at once without getting burnt out? That's a good question. In fact, why don't I do this? I'm going to see if I can open up something for you all. Give me just 1 second. We might be able to jump in and see right now what our what's on for permaculture artisans right now. Let's see if we can go to the Trello board. Oh, shoot. No, not able to do it. Sorry. Okay. In another one of these live sessions, I'll pull up our Trello board, which is one of our project management tools that we use at Permaculture Artisans, where we track the state of every project. So we have different boards in Trello. We have one that's design proposals sent. We have one that's design projects in contract. We have ones that are in completion. And so we have all these different stages. And when we complete one stage, we move that over to the next board. We complete that one, we move it over to the next one. I would say we probably have 8 to 10 design projects all at one time right now at Permaculture Artisans, but we have 3 designers. Okay, 3 designers. We probably have about 8 to 10 projects. We may have more. We might have like 12. But again, some of these are long-term projects. We work with the Resource Conservation District. We design water harvesting, rainwater catchment systems in salmon-bearing watersheds. We work with the RCD and private clients to design these systems so that people aren't pulling water out of salmon-bearing creeks and rivers during the summer. And those projects could be many months. We'll get a contract and we don't have to deliver that design for 4 months, maybe even, right? So that's a long time. So we're in contract. We know we have that project, but we don't actually really need to start busting out on it if we have some other things in the queue that require more urgency. So you need to prioritize your design projects by urgency in order to, get more in there. And so, yeah, I mean, we're probably around 10 or 12 at one time right now with 3 designers with a bunch of long-term projects that are out there. But the last thing that you want to do is promise a whole bunch of clients that you're going to get them deliverables on a certain time frame. That's totally unrealistic for you to do. Obviously, that's a recipe for burnout for you all, and your clients are going to be so happy. And that's one of those like lose-lose, because you're working your booty off to get stuff done, but the client's still unhappy. Oh gosh, that's the worst. That happens to all of us though. So you might want to go to some of those clients that are a little more chill, a little more relaxed, and see if you can buy yourself a little extra time with them. You might even offer them something. You might even say, hey, we're wondering, it's going to take us another couple weeks before we're able to deliver the project to you than what we thought. But we would like to give you the first tree for free. We want to give you a gift of a flat of lavender when you get to install it. Some little gift or some little something to make them feel special and like you're really thinking about them and investing in them. Okay, let's see here. Where did you go? I'm just getting over to here. Okay, so it's about 7:20. I think I'm gonna call it a night tonight. I hope that was valuable for you all. I hope you got something out of this, and that we answered some of your questions, that you feel some empowerment. I know it's not easy to run these businesses, so keep bringing your issues to the surface. Keep bringing them to the mastermind group. Keep bringing them to these Q&As. You guys need to like take me and like guide me where where you want me to go. Okay. So the more questions you ask, the more that you all let me know what the areas that you really need support on, then I'm able to focus there, and I'm able to bring our experts into focus there. So I'm going to sign off here in a sec. Remember, if you haven't seen the last expert hangout, go into the mastermind group, go into the events section, press the settings button and hit past events, and you'll be able to find that link to Javin's Holistic Life Context that we did last week. The next live session is going to be in January next year, 2018. I'm excited to really pick up the pace on these Q&As and expert hangouts. We have officially 2 scheduled per month, but I'm excited to do actually as many as I can. So I look forward to seeing you all then. I hope to see you in the mastermind group. Good luck on all your projects and happy holidays, and we'll see you soon. Bye.